Alright, back at the garage, do the water pump and thermostat replacement, and let's see how we do. So the first thing I took off was the air box. And that'll allow me to get into the tensioners down in here. Oh well, yeah, we can't, right where my finger's touching. And that way I'll be able to loosen this bolt, or belt, and then get to the fan bolts. Over here, there's 4 of them. I got 3 of them off, but before I pulled the last one, I figured I'll get some tension off that belt. And there's 2 bolts you have to loosen on this power steering in order for that tensioner to even loosen. There's one up top here, one on the back here, up, and maybe a third one. Alright, so just loosen the belt a little bit, not much, not all the way, you know, you don't need to take it out necessarily, but I got that fan off, just those 4 bolts. It comes separate from the pulley. So here's the fan. Just those 4 bolts is what we had to take out. Now I'm going to go for the shroud and give us a little bit more room. Alright, so right now we got the fans pulled off, the shroud's out, and we're draining the rest of the coolant. And next I'm going to be taking, I got the hose clamp loosened here. That's the bottom of the water pump. Just letting some of it drain out some more so it doesn't make quite a mess. And so far we got, this is your thermostat housing. I got 2 bolts. They're loosened up, ready to go. Next, after that will be, I think it's 5 or 6 bolts around this water pump, but it also, some of these bolts double as the water pump and your power steering bracket. Alright, so this is the thermostat housing, and I pulled the top hose off of it just to give us, so we can put it out of the way. Here's our thermostat. You got to pay attention which way you take it out, because that's the exact way you need to put it back in for it to operate. So we'll just remember that the spring side goes on the inside. Alright, so to get the water pump off, you got your power steering pump, then your power steering pump bracket, and the bolts run right through the power steering pump bracket into your water pump. So what I had to do is just pull this power steering pump over. There's 4 bolts holding that on, 2 bolts remaining holding the bracket on. Now we can go ahead and pull the water pump off. Alright, so I got it ready for all the new parts. I had to scrape some of the old gasket off around the surfaces where the new gaskets are going to go. So that way it doesn't leak anything, it makes a nice seal. And I'm going to start with the water pump. After the water pump goes on, then we'll put the bracket on for the power steering pump. And I'll show you when we get there. Alright, so there's a new water pump in place. I used a little bit of RTV silicone gasket maker to hold the new gasket in place. That way when you go and line it up, it's not going to want to slide so much. Right now I just have these just hand tight. There's just the main 4 of them. These other 2, they also hold the bracket for the power steering on. And I'll show you when we get there. Alright, so it's 1, 2, 1 back here is 3, and 1 at the bottom is 4 that holds the water pump to the block. And then here's our bracket for our power steering pump, and that's just 4 bolts as well. Now these are the 2. You don't want to tighten everything up yet, because you want to make sure, because these go into the water pump also. You don't want to tighten your water pump all the way completely, because you got to make sure these all line up. And then next will be the power steering pump. We'll attach that back to the bracket. Alright, so we're going to put the new thermostat in. Remember, spring side inside. So that way, that means like this. That's how we took the old one out. But, so I found out the gasket only covers part of where the coolant's going to be flowing. So around the outside here I put some RTV, and then also on the block, or on the head I should say, there's also some more RTV. Now I didn't just put it on I let it sit for a while so it'll somewhat get tacky instead of being so pasty, and that way it won't all just smush right out when I go ahead and put the housing on with the new thermostat inside. So that's just the 2 bolts, and then I also use some RTV to hold this gasket in place so that way it doesn't slide around too much when we go and line it up. Alright, so right before I put the fan pulley and water pump pulley back on, I figure I'll let you know the new water pumps don't come with studs, so I recommend getting a new pack of studs. It's only a couple dollars, just in case you guys are wondering. That's one thing I had to go out back to the store for, get some new studs. And I also started lining the belt back up. And there we go. Got it all tightened back up. Everything's in. I had to put the shroud has to go on before the fan. If not, it won't fit the fan. You won't be able to get the fan past the shroud in there. Other than that, it looks pretty good.